Bob is running for school board in the city of Utica, and I know Habaika was on the other day. Some things are happening over at Proctor in the school district, and I think they seem to be positive.
Look, I think so. First of all, think about it. The school budget in the city of Utica is $186,000 or $186 million. Thank you. And we got $6 million in state aid. And actually, for the last several years, I think it was the last 6 years, there has not been a tax increase.
Right,
so
right.
That's pretty substantial when you think about the magnitude of the school budget, the responsibilities of the school district. And, you have to really credit the current, administration, the superintendent, and those folks on the board. I think have done an excellent job.
So what changes? What changes do you see going down the road?
Well, I think one of the things that's very, very important, and I know within the budget itself, they've created 50 new teaching positions. The classroom sizes are very important, extremely important, as you know. Your wife's a teacher,
right.
and I'm a teacher, and I know when I get to that point, if I'm over 25, which most of the time I am at MV. It starts to get difficult, and I don't really even know the kids.
They did a study on this, and there's a sweet spot. So, and I'm forgive me if I get it wrong, but I might, but I'm pretty sure it's like 27 or 28 students. Once you get over that, but there's also a number that's interesting if the number is too small. So once you get down below like a dozen, that also has a negative effect because kids don't feel as they don't feel as comfortable for some reason, and they are less likely to participate.
Yeah,
that's kind of
there's not as much camaraderie.
Yeah.
When you get down to that lower amount of student, and being a teacher, I find this because once in a while I'll get a class that's maybe 9 or 10 people.
Right.
Now all of a sudden, who's afraid to talk?
Right.
Because now it's close enough. So So I that's true.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
a bit of a discomfort. So.
Absolutely.
What if it came down to raising taxes? I mean, sometimes you gotta go to the constituents and say, hey, if we're gonna fix this problem, it's gonna cost us some money, so we're gonna need to kind of reach into the pockets a little bit more. Would you be willing to do that, or do you think that's the wrong move?
I remember a famous Bush who said, "Read my lips."
Right.
No new taxes. It's a very difficult thing to do.
Yeah.
That's a question that will face every municipality, every school district. I think the first thing that we have to do is keep fighting to get the amount of aid that we truly deserve from Albany. So at the outset, I would say I would never be in favor of a tax increase, and I would stick to that. But you never know what happens down the road. But so far, if we continue to run it the way it's being run, which I think is being administered wonderfully, I don't think we're going to have that issue.
It's tough with the increase in enrollment. I mean, even Joe said it. I mean, their enrollment continues to go up.
Yes.
You know, and it's I think it's estimated like they spend $20,000 a student or something like that. So that's a lot of.
Well,
you have so many different languages, too.
I was just going to mention that. I mean, when you have and I think if you recall many years ago when you and I went down to New York and we had mentioned to Mayor Giuliani how many languages there were in the Utica School District, he was like dumbfounded. Like, are you kidding? I mean, the city is only 60,000 people, and there's that many, 42
They probably deal with that
47
type of number in New York City.
Maybe less. I don't know. Yeah. But when you deal with that, you're dealing with ESL. So, and that's a requirement. And last night I had to appear before the Labor Council, and I talked about that a little bit. Look at the school district, the responsibilities that Utica has that other districts, outlying districts don't necessarily have to deal with. And that's something that I think, again, has been administrated very well within this district. So,
the problem comes back every year. We argue over the funding that ends up coming down. There's the formula, foundation aid, all of these problems that seem to be, well, this year we're going to fix it, and then they never get fixed. And we're in city of Rome right now. That school district is really in a terrible position. They could be losing 30 teachers, and that's an improvement on what they thought they were going to lose.
Exactly, they were. It was higher than that before.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that we have to do is to really press our legislators and more. even more so the legislators, because now we're all in the minority.
Right.
Which people don't realize what a impact that has on upstate New York.
Right.
When you're in the minority now in the Senate, you don't have the buffer to be able to go to the governor and say, wait a minute. You don't have it now. They're in the minority. Joe Griffo worked hard for a number of years, but he's always been in the majority.
Right.
It's different,
It's a different world now.
And I think he was chair at one point. I think he was chair of the Education Committee. So when your state senator is chair of the Education Committee, you've got a little bit of juice.
Well, you have all this controlled downstate. That is the
Yes,
scary part because I don't, and you've done work in New York. They look at upstate as, boy, we're looked upon as a bunch of Neanderthals.
Well, we're not even. It's interesting what they consider upstate.
Right.
There's New York is Western New York. You go to Buffalo and say you're in upstate.
Yeah.
No, you're not. You're in Western New York.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
I look at it in terms of football. You go from a little past us. Maybe Syracuse starts to get more Buffalo fans. We're kind of in that middle where I think we're still primarily Giant fans.
No, everyone's a Buffalo fan around here. What are you talking about?
Well, I'm a Giant fan.
No, it was a Buffalo Bill. So you're right. This is
the geography really makes it difficult in New York State.
The melting pot here in this part of upstate. So, all right, Bob, got to go. Thanks.
Okay.